I'm so excited to chat with these distinguished Penn State alumni about their careers in staffing. Lindsay, I would love for you to kick things off.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jack. That was wonderful. We're happy to be here, and thank you guys for all attending. My name is Lindsay Kaplan, and I am the Senior Regional Director over our Technologies Division. I sit in our Boston location, and I oversee Boston, Hartford, Connecticut, New York, DC, Charlotte, and Raleigh. So I have a couple offices within my region, and I couldn't be more proud of all of the staffing consultants that I have on the team.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Wagner. I'm a staffing consultant, a member of our Chicago team, our associates team. I graduated from Penn State in 2017. I studied human development, family studies, and then my minor was psychology.
Hey everyone, my name is Rishi Sims. I am an account executive on our tech division here in the Bryant Park location in Manhattan. I majored in agribusiness management, minored in communications, and graduated in 2015.
Hello everyone, my name is Caitlin. I am a senior staffing consultant on our associates division in our New York office. When I was at Penn State, I majored in rehabilitation and human services, and I graduated in 2018.
My name's Lauren. I work in the DC office on our associates division. I am an account executive, so I work on temp and temp to hire. I graduated from Penn State in 2019, and I majored in corporate innovation and entrepreneurship with a minor in supply chain.
My name is Jeff Savant. So I joined Beacon Hill last year, was a 2019 grad. I majored in similar corporate innovation entrepreneurship as well.
I'd love for everyone to actually kind of circle back around again. We'll start with Lindsay and share what attracted you to this career, and how does it maybe relate to your undergrad experience? If there's any dots that you think, you could obviously connect between the things you did while at Penn State and what you do in your career now. Let's start off with Lindsay.
Absolutely. I mean, mine is not overly applicable. Biology to IT staffing are very different things. But for me, I always wanted to get into pharmaceutical sales. And so when I had graduated, it was kind of in the recession. And one of my sorority sisters had mentioned that I should look into staffing, because what I was really excited about was having that face-to-face client interaction. I wanted a job that rewarded me for the amount of effort and energy that I put into it is exactly what I would get out of it. So I was always drawn to those sales kind of careers, and naturally I found myself in IT staffing, and I couldn't imagine a career doing anything else.
Like I said, I got my degree in human development and family studies, but I realized probably midway through junior year, I was like, I think my personality is probably a little bit more fit for a corporate world, but I still wanted to be in a job where I could interact with people and still kind of help people in that way and constantly have that kind of human connection. And that was something that really attracted me about staffing. I think as far as like relating to my undergrad experience, like I said, that human connection is really something that we focused on in human development, family studies, how you can understand people, what they want. And I think I've been able to apply that pretty nicely as a staffing consultant.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually came into Penn State as a civil engineer. And then I would say after my first semester, I kind of figured out like, hey, maybe this isn't the best option for me. So like Laura mentioned, I kind of just wanted to get into an industry, into a field where I could connect with different people on a daily basis. And also I think what kind of drove me into the whole staffing world is just the fast-paced nature of it all. You got to have drive, you got to be able to connect with different people on a daily basis. And also, like Lindsay kind of mentioned as well, you set your own tone, you set your own basis. And that's what I absolutely loved about the industry as well.
Yeah, so my major is actually pretty similar to Laura's. I was a rehabilitation and human services major. So initially I wanted to go into some sort of counseling, and I was really all over the place with like who I wanted to focus on, whether it was families, adults, kids. And I was like, there's so many options, and I don't know that I want to go to grad school right after and then work independently. I was also focused on like a corporate environment. My personality was a better fit for that, something more fast-paced and team-oriented. So I combined that like team-oriented environment that Beacon Hill has with the fast pace, and also the ability to, build relationships and still sort of counsel people through their job search. And that's what made it such a great fit.
Yeah. So I think the one thing that's really kind of attracted me to staffing was being an entrepreneurship major is the entrepreneurial nature of the job. Although obviously, you are working for Beacon Hill, it varies much so you kind of running your own business in some ways because it's your desk. You choose what you do every single day. You choose what you work on. You choose what companies you work with, what people you work with. So that was really attractive to me. And two, what a lot of people have said as well is, everything that you put into the job, you will get out of it.
Yeah, I love that point that you raised because you really do have that ownership over your success, but then you have a really great, amazing structure and support in Beacon Hill. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, so sort of piggybacking off Jeff, I actually didn't realize we had the same major in college. So yes, very similar. I really liked that I could start with nothing and have the opportunity to grow into something. So whether I'm calling real estate companies or I'm calling architect firms, or I can really make and choose what I do on a daily basis. I'm not given a project. I'm not giving a PowerPoint presentation to present. It's completely open book. I can do absolutely anything. I can build relationships. I can meet people. That's what I loved about being an account executive. I could get out of the office for the day pre-COVID and go meet other really important people at these nonprofits or just law firms within DC. And I could go and travel around for the day and get out and move and, sightsee at the same time. So there were a lot of things that attracted me to staffing, but I definitely think the relationship building is where I definitely liked it the most.
Caitlin and Rishi, I would love for you both to tell us a little bit more about your roles at Beacon Hill, the day-to-day, the nuances of the positions you're in.
Sure. So again, I'm a senior staffing consultant in New York. So I'm a temp recruiter. I work with candidates on their job search and I fill short-term temp, long-term temp, and temp to permanent opportunities, which sounds like a lot. And it's definitely very fast-paced. So day-to-day, I'm interviewing candidates for jobs and then matching their resumes to jobs that are a fit for their experience and what they're looking for. So it's like matchmaking, but for jobs and job seekers, which I love. So short-term temp, it's kind of like subbing, but for a corporate environment. So for example, if somebody's receptionist called out sick one day, I could call one of my candidates and say, hey, I got this job in, it's in Midtown. What time can you get there? And they go run in and fill it. And then a long-term temp job looks more like covering somebody's leave or filling in for somebody, or if somebody needs an extra set of hands for a couple of months. And sometimes people are interested in those jobs just to have more stability or fill in the blanks before they know what they want to do next. Or maybe they're moving in a couple of months and they just want a longer term job before they leave New York. And then temp to perm, I kind of like to think of it as dating before getting married, but for a job. So there's a temp period. During that time, it's just a nice way for a company to get to know a candidate and vice versa and make sure it's a really good fit before going permanent.
Yeah, so my role at Beacon Hill is as an account executive. So this basically means that I'm reaching out to clients on pretty much a daily basis to not only gain their business, but really just to gain their trust and build relationships within, the organization as well. So this could involve things such as, uncovering pain points within the projects, figuring out what we can do better than the competitors, and of course, selling Beacon Hill as, pretty much a top choice when it comes to a business's procurement strategy. So my main goal, especially within, the New York City region, with all the competition that we do have here, is to make sure that I am their guy for staffing.
And so how does someone learn the job, right? That's a natural next step in the conversation. And I think Jeff could start off telling us about his training process, having hit the 1 year mark this past summer. So Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your training?
Yeah. So it definitely is getting into it, getting thrown in the fire, so to speak. But it's a good thing because, you learn by doing, basically. I mean, that's how everything works. But they set you up, for success. They're not setting you up for failure saying, oh, get in here and, we expect you to make 5 placements in the net by the first month. You'll start out, you'll shadow people who have, some of the senior, more tenured people who've been there for a while. Like my direct supervisor now, basically worked under him for a week and kind of just learned the day-to-day of the job before getting into it. And then, once you kind of get through the training a little bit, they have you, hop and start making calls right away and, start interviewing candidates. Your first interview with a candidate probably is not going to go the best or, not going to be the best interview you ever had for sure. But Everything is a learning experience. So, you're going to have a learning curve, whatever job you get in. And I think always the best way is just to like really get into it right away, get more hands on and, learn from some of the people who have been there for a while. And, that's frankly is the best way to learn of any job. And that's what they do here. So,
yeah, so I definitely, I hit my 1 year mark in August. I would say the first 6 months were the biggest learning curve. I was coming with no previous staffing experience, no cold call experience. I remember making my first cold call out on the sales floor, and we're in a bullpen environment. So everyone's around us. Everyone can hear us. Kristen, our regional director, was sitting in front of me, and Kaylee, my manager, was sitting next to me. Everyone was rooting me on, and I did it. And then everyone started clapping and cheering. And I was like, okay, I can do this.
Overseeing so many offices and you yourself managing so many people that have started, right out of school and seeing success. What else would you share, from a managerial perspective? And I certainly would love for you to talk about the Fast Track to Sales program that we have with your tech offices on the East Coast, which hopefully some of our attendees will be interested in.
Yes, please. Absolutely. I think that for us, we take training really seriously because I think every person learns really differently. So this year we've done just more of a regional WebEx training. I know that Jeff and Lauren also said this, but there's a lot of shadowing that happens. There's one-on-ones, there's homework assignments, there's pop quizzes. So it's very similar to what you should be used to coming out of college. And then, of course, we always have the mentor program, which Lauren had also just mentioned. But I think for us, it's more, I always encourage people to raise their hand. If they're not understanding the material, let us know. We're not mind readers. And of course, everyone learns a little bit differently. So it's really important to understand how do you learn, because understanding the material at hand is half the battle. We have our Fast Track program that Jackie had just mentioned, which I think is really, really great for those that are looking to get into the client-facing role. No matter which role you choose at Beacon Hill, whether you're the staffing consultant or an account executive, both of those are sales roles. It just depends upon, who do you want to reach out to? Do you want to reach out to a candidate, or do you want to cold call into a client? And there's no right or wrong answer. Both sides are paid exactly the same. But there's some people like myself and like Rishi, I'll pick on Rishi a little bit because he's in my region, that, really are more attracted to that client side of things. So we created the Fast Track program, which is really a 6-month boot camp to get you up and running, understand almost everything within the client side of things. You become really great at cold calls. You become great at researching a client, really identifying why would they use talent? Why would they use Beacon Hill?
So great. And everyone I have in that program absolutely loves it. Mini trips like Charlotte, I think, was the one that you guys had for people who started last summer. And you get to meet people from other offices, people who started out when you did. And you have really great role models in Lindsay and the technology leadership. And if you haven't caught on to it yet, everyone just raving about their managers and the people that are helping them grow their careers. It really is across the board, across all divisions. We have so many great people that will be looking out for you and helping set you up for success. Having now worked in 2 locations, 2 different teams, what are some common traits, core traits and values people who see success here at Beacon Hill, the people that join us and grow their careers with us?
I think the biggest thing, and the thing that I noticed first and foremost that people have already touched on, is just how welcoming everyone is. Even from day one in my Philadelphia office to in my new Chicago office from home, people have been so incredibly welcoming and so supportive, which I think is super, super speaks to just the people that we are, is that we genuinely care at our core. And I think just in general, everyone's enthusiasm about what they do and how excited they are to work at Beacon Hill is a common core trait.
Talk about career growth. Lindsay, can you tell us about your incredibly accomplished career trajectory here at Beacon Hill?
I'm flattered and slightly embarrassed. I mean, yes, I am accomplished. Yes. So I got my start at another staffing agency right out of college. And when I came to Beacon Hill, I moved right into the account executive position, which is that client-facing role that everyone keeps talking about. And so I was pretty transparent with my manager, who oversees our technologies department, that at some point I wanted to manage in the future. And I actually told him that I would go to New York and open up that office. I told him I would go to San Fran. And truth be told, I would visit those cities and I was like, they're great cities, but man, my roots are kind of in Boston now. Long story short, I actually grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So moving to Boston happened right after college. So I didn't really have a lot of like family or roots here, but back to the story. So I told him, hey, Jeff, I'm really sorry, but I feel like I'm letting you down. And I know I told you I would go open up these other offices, but I kind of like Boston and I want to stay in Boston, but I also want to manage. So he said, Linz, give me 1 month and I'm going to create a position for you, which is when he created the business development manager role. And at that point, I was overseeing the sales team. And that was such a huge accomplishment that for me, it was that I had the trust in him that I could manage our existing team and grow our existing team. So from there, I took my promotion into another promotion, which was division director, which was overseeing our Boston office. And then flash forward a few more years, I actually got New York as one of my very first offices that we could open up. So it kind of comes full circle, and I joked with Jeff at that point where I was like, funny that now I'm actually overseeing New York. And so for me, it's always all about the effort and energy that you put into it is exactly what you'll get out of it. I tell people that all the time. People ask me, hey, how do I become successful? It's all about not having a plan B, putting all of your eggs in your basket, banking on yourself and knowing that you can be the best person out there. And so I know that sounds maybe cocky, maybe confident. I'm not positive, but for me, it's all about, giving it your all every day.
So great. And yeah, you reached such a good point. Like we were established in the year 2000, but we're just getting started. Even this past year, the things that we have rolled out from the diversity and equity inclusion task force to the robust marketing efforts. Look at our Instagram from 6 months ago to our Instagram today. Like we are taking on and we are just growing and evolving, and it's so cool. Let's talk about your favorite part of your job when it comes to the day-to-day.
I feel like I have so many favorites. Obviously, like extending an offer to a candidate is always like the most exciting thing. But I think in more of that, like day-to-day, what really keeps me going is those relationships that I'm building with candidates on a day-to-day basis, whether I'm just picking up the phone from a cold call and I'm talking about commute with them and we live in the same neighborhood and we're like commiserating about the L or whatever way we're getting to work before COVID.
I think overall the connectivity is a big one for me. So whether that's connecting with leaders or executives within a certain industry who I normally wouldn't have the opportunity to connect with otherwise, really enjoy just picking their brain, seeing, what makes them click essentially, right? But it's also just the connectivity within Beacon Hill itself. There's never a question that you have that will go unanswered. There's always somebody, whether it's in, the Charlotte region or San Francisco, who's always there to basically, help you through the way. So absolutely love that about, basically my day to day.
Beacon Hill traditions. We are very big on our traditions here at Beacon Hill.
The quarterly outings are just as fun. Like my second week here, we went to a Phillies game. Everybody in all of Philadelphia office, not just in finance mind, but associates, tech, everyone went to the game together, which is really cool, getting to meet new people.
But my favorite Beacon Hill tradition is beers in the bullpen. Every Friday at the end of the day around like 4:00 in the office, we would order beers and snacks like that everybody chooses to the office. And it's just such a nice way to celebrate everyone's hard work that they put in all week at the end of the week and just end on such a high note.
What about Lauren? What about you? What's your favorite office or Beacon Hill tradition?
So I wasn't going to go with the holiday party, but Caitlin, since you said beers in the bullpen, that's what I was going to talk about. Maybe I'll talk about it, but I'll talk about different points of why I liked it. So my favorite's definitely beers in the bullpen. Being in sales, I'm making maybe 300 calls a week, which is a lot. It's exhausting. But whenever you get to have really good conversations and continuously build relationships with the clients that you're calling on, when 4:00 hits on a Friday, it's really nice to either pop some champagne in the office with your colleagues or have a beer with your friends on the finance team who you haven't talked to all week because you're just busy in your own stuff.
Yeah, the holiday part is pretty epic. There is videos, probably from at least like the last 2 or 3 of the holiday party on our website, on our YouTube page. So if you're curious to learn more about, it's like the VMAs for staffing for Beacon Hill. It's a red carpet video production, shopping spree, prizes under your chair, awards, photo booths. I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's really special. To my final question before we get to the Q&A and a little bit of a wrap up from me for Lindsay. Lindsay, for attendees on the call entertaining other types of jobs, why staffing and why Beacon Hill Staffing Group?
Awesome question. My husband is in software sales, and you're only as good as your product is, whereas here, staffing is so much about the relationships. So I think if you're already considering a career in some sort of sales, you will nail it if you love to build relationships. So really strongly consider staffing because it's such a different type of sale. It's really all about making sure that you're finding the right people for the right jobs, the right companies, the right culture fits. And then along the way, you're building some really solid relationships. I tell people all the time on my birthday, my first text message I receive is some sort of friend. Text message number 2 is like a family member. And text message number 3 is always a client. And it's mind blowing every year where I'm like, wow, you guys care about me. Thank you. And that's so nice to see and nice to hear. So if you love building relationships, you will love staffing. Also, I feel like I've touched upon it a little bit ago, but the limitless opportunity, the amount of growth that you can have, the amount of promotions. If you like to be recognized for what you do, come to Beacon Hill. That's definitely what we are key for. I tell people this all the time. I'm not motivated by money. I'm really motivated by recognition. And when I think about all of the awards that we have, all of the weekly, quarterly, monthly, yearly recognitions that we have, that's what I love so much about Beacon Hill. So if you really want to make a lot of money, yes, it's a sales job, of course. And of course, you can kind of pave your own future here. But I also think, knowing that we tailor the training program for each person, I think is really also key. Knowing that your manager is personally invested in you.
How do you cooperate with a client that does not want to take the advice that is being given? What is the best way to respond to that?
I can chime in there. I think it's also all about building the relationship. When you build your relationship, you're also building trust with that client or that consultant, and that people look to you for market knowledge. They want you to share with them what's going on out there. I speak for everyone here, but I'm sure people get asked this every day on the phone, that people are like, hey, what's going on out there? How are employment rates? How long is it going to be until I'm placed into another opportunity? So, I think over time you end up building that relationship and that trust, and that it's rare that you'll deal with an uncooperative person just because you'll have that rapport with them build up over the years. I don't know if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think that you kind of hit, it's more about focusing on how do you build that relationship and that trust. And you have this expertise, right? We have market knowledge. We have expertise that the client doesn't even have because we're talking to the clients every day that are in their space as well and can give them competitive information. And I think a lot of us who started out, when we started out, fake it till you make it too. You always have a boss or a manager right next to you that you could quickly text or jabber. Oh no, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. But you have that confidence in your expertise, and things will kind of fall into place. Another great question. What's the most challenging part of your job? Would anyone want to speak to that? And maybe Jeff or Lauren, who started their staffing careers a little bit more recently, could elaborate on that, because challenges probably get different at different points in your career.
Yeah, I think, frankly, it's scary to say, but one of the most challenging things is really just about getting up and running. Getting your desk started, building everything from basically scratch. That is probably the most challenging part about the job. But what it makes is someone who it really makes you kind of feel more of a drive. You're really more motivated from that sense because you want to be successful. And then when you see other people making placements, and I think I took 3 or 4 months before I made my first placement.
I was going to touch more on the organizational side of it. I think in the beginning, it's really hard. You're starting with a database. We use eRecruit and manages all of call that we make, every note that we jot down, every email we send. And I think finding a system within the systems that you do use, whether it's even on Outlook, managing your calendar, color coding everything on your calendar, really being good with time management. I think just finding an organizational structure that works for you is the biggest challenge. It's fun, it's rewarding, but it's also, once you find that rhythm of how do I keep myself organized to make sure I hit these calls every day or send out these follow-up cold emails after a call each day. I think it's the biggest challenge, but you have to find it within your job.
Absolutely. And I'll make it quick, but I think the most challenging part of my job placing candidates would be, you have control over everything that you do, every conversation that you have, every time you reach out to somebody, every time you follow up with them, what their activity is, but you don't have control over what they're telling you. So there are times where you think that you've done everything right, you've done everything in your power, and the candidate that you thought was going to accept your offer might not. But at the end of the day, it's frustrating for a minute. You have your team to talk about it for a minute with, and then everybody's like, all right, back to it. And I think that's, also the high of it. There's highs and there's lows, but your team is right there to pick you back up when something doesn't go as planned, and that's just life.
As a first-generation American who's looking for their first real job after university, would Beacon Hill provide the support system to let me grow and explore different options within the firm? I think Lindsay touched on this a little. I want to also mention just internal support that we have for all employees, beyond the mentor program and leadership and giving you that autonomy over your career. I mean, the examples given today of, Lindsay rising to, regional director overseeing multiple, actually senior regional director overseeing multiple offices, to Laura making a move back home to Chicago when she decided that was what was best for her in her life right now, to me completely switching from sales into this campus role that had never existed. I hope that touched upon the different paths available to someone here. Everyone's path and journey could look different, but also, in terms of our diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, I sit on that committee, so I'd love to elaborate a little bit more on that. We will be having employee resource networks launching over the next few months. Those will be internal support systems where, maybe there's no one on the team who you could identify with about, a certain part of your identity. And now you're going to have a larger structure within Beacon Hill to connect and network with individuals who you share these common qualities with. We will also have more of a colleague engagement network and resources, more voices of support within the organization, a lot more recognition and celebration of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're talking about launching cultural events in offices. That was my idea. I just want to bring in some patatine, which is the Italian food my Zia makes when I go to Italy every summer. I could relate to being a first-generation American. My dad's from Italy, so I love sharing my culture, and that's something really cool that we have going on here right now. All of our diversity, equity, inclusion efforts are actually outlined on our website, and again, it's something that I might have to schedule an hour call with you to talk about because I'm so excited about everything we have in the mix. But yeah, I think that we're doing a great job, but what I love more about us is that we want to do a better job, and we're putting in the time and effort. It's really cool to see come to fruition. We are at the 6 o'clock Eastern time mark, and I want to be mindful of everyone's time because everyone here is billing and filling and working hard. And panelists, I can't thank you guys enough. I applaud you. I'm so appreciative of your time. I certainly know you inspired your fellow Lions today, and I look forward to connecting to any attendees who were here listening in and who are interested in next steps with us. My email will be in the follow-up survey when you exit the WebEx, or you could just reply to the LinkedIn that I messaged you on. One way or the other, you could visit beaconhillcareers.com and get in touch. And I hope to be hiring more Lions either this January or next summer. And I'm sure everyone here will be happy to have you in their company as well. Thank you so much. We are Go Hire. Have a great afternoon and weekend. Bye, guys.